GameRanks presents another episode of Before You Buy. You know, the show where we bring you some straight up gameplay and some first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, I'm Jake Baldino, and today I'm playing Watch Dogs 2. It's Watch Dogs, but better. You've probably heard that, and it's probably what you were hoping for. But the thing is here, it's just where the series goes now will determine whether or not you'll really love it or hate it. Let me get this out of the way, I didn't mind the original Watch Dogs at all. I mean, yeah, it was overhyped and it had tons of problems, but I still managed to find a lot of cool shit in it. Where Watch Dogs 2 really improves is its sense of character, story, and gameplay. Those are probably the biggest complaints of the first game, and Ubisoft set out to try and fix them. Firstly, you'll probably notice that things are more fleshed out and less repetitive. It's still an open world with a bunch of stuff to cross off a list, but a combination of good progression systems and just more purpose and variety makes things feel stronger. What I really dig mostly, and I'll get to that later, are the improved stealth systems. It actually feels like the game stresses stealth much harder this time around. The game is incredibly hard and challenging without using stealth. The default weapon is even a stun gun, and the RC car and drone give you much more surveillance options, as well as new ways to distract, hack, and kill. And that's where Watch Dogs 2 works the best. It's freaking awesome when you're doing that stuff. There's enough mechanics in the game now to give you a bunch of options to the point where it feels like a playground. Every stealth scenario and every scenario feels like a sandbox. Plus, there's a lot more verticality in this one. You're gonna spend a lot of time on the rooftops of San Francisco. You're gonna be running around, you're gonna be climbing stuff, you're gonna be parkouring, which looks pretty cool, but ultimately doesn't really add anything. This shit ton of options that you have at your disposal that I already mentioned even lends itself to getting to higher ground. You know, you can like fly your drone up somewhere, you can hack a crane and do all weird stuff like that. It's just a good way of pointing out that everything in this game can be improvised. Now, two things I don't like with the gameplay is that some of the hacking relies way too heavily on these augmented reality pipe puzzles. This is where you follow trails of line of code in the game and tweak pipes to get the data to flow the right way or something. Watch Dogs 2 falls back on this way too much, and after a while they just feel extremely freaking grating. Also, the stealth this time around feels stronger in the hacking and surveillance sense, but less tighter in some of the actual gameplay, like the boots on the ground stuff. For some reason, the shooting doesn't really feel as strong as it did in the first game, and basic stealth feels a bit odd at times and finicky. The stealth is extremely unforgiving, and that's not always a bad thing, because challenge is good, but it just gets annoying sometimes when the enemies see you for a second, and then everyone in the map is instantly on alert and knows exactly where you are. That may frustrate some, but with all the other added elements, it still feels satisfying. The game world of San Francisco and the Bay Area itself is nice. NPCs have a lot going on. They can do a ton. They can even photobomb your selfies. And I'm very happy to announce that you can pet dogs. You can also run them over with your car. Don't do that. It's a good example, though, of a ton of variety to everything in the world. It's just a good game to play in. I've been to San Francisco a few times, and it seems like Ubisoft did manage to capture the look and feel of it. At least in many places. You know, it's not 100% accurate, but it's cool, and it's a fun world. Also, visually, I didn't have high expectations, but I'm pretty surprised how damn good this game looks. This is actually running on a PlayStation 4 Pro right now, and things are sharp, colors are bright, and the draw distance is surprisingly really good. There's enough variety where you can do stuff in the cities, you can go to Silicon Valley and sneak into a fake Google, you can fight some gangs in some of the bad areas, and then you can head into the woods and do dirt bike racing and other shenanigans. Now, the vibe and the writing of the game is kind of lukewarm. I mean, the game fares much better by leaning into the wacky craziness, but it still just comes off totally cringeworthy. I think Watch Dogs itself still feels better as a lighter-hearted tale. Some of the parodies on modern US tech culture and stuff just kind of feels like a poor man's Grand Theft Auto. A lot of it feels very been there, done that, and also been there and done better. But I think overall, Watch Dogs does fare better as a lighter-hearted tale. The main character this time around is Marcus, and he's a decent enough character. A lot of people had complaints about Aiden Pierce from the first game just being a generic revenge man. Marcus, on the other hand, is likable, but you don't get to know him too well. Him and his buddies just kind of seem kind of aimless. I still think it's a treat, though, to watch them interact sometimes, but overall, I'm just disappointed with some of the story stuff, but that's just me. When I mean aimless, it just seems like there's not a lot of agency to anything. They're idealistic and they want to take down institutions, but overall, it's just kind of carefree. And starting a game and for a while, you don't really feel like you even have an end goal. Say what you want about Aiden Pierce, but at least you know what he was out to do. He was a revenge man and he wanted revenge. Watch Dogs 2 doesn't give you any of that feel. You don't really know what you're doing for quite a while. And I will say that Marcus and the open world design does run into that issue where things don't quite fit with the character. Like, you know, using drones and RC cars to sneak in and hack stuff definitely fit with the character. It makes sense for a cool young hipster hacker guy to do this stuff. But then again, shooting cops and everyone around with a neon pink AK-47 doesn't really feel accurate to the character. The story and gameplay are very much at odds with each other sometimes, and that doesn't bother a lot of people. It doesn't bother me, but it might bother some. Multiplayer, I think, is much more improved. People hacking into your game and vice versa is still annoying sometimes when you're interrupted, but it feels smoother this time around, and it's still like a fun game of cat and mouse. It's simple and it's fun, and it's more streamlined now. The big problem here, though, is that Ubisoft still has to fix it. At certain times of day, it's essentially broken because the game has a habit of sometimes slowing down to a crawl with a big frame rate hit, thanks to online connectivity issues. Now, it already has gotten better thanks to a patch, and you can disconnect from online. Some people don't care about the online, but it's still something to be aware of, and I had to mention it. I think Watch Dogs 2 is fun. It loses some of the stuff from the first that if you were a big fan, you might miss it. Characters feel directionless, there's less real violence and danger and grit, and the boots on the ground stealth doesn't feel quite as right. But what you do get here are a ton more options in a fun game world that will keep you busy for a while without feeling as repetitive as you might think, at least by looking at the map. With the stuff I've given you, good and bad, you just need to think about what exactly you want from a Watch Dogs game. That's the difference of you seeing improvements that you love, or still just more disappointment and missed potential. It's not a perfect game, you know, I see myself playing it for a while, but it still just falls short of greatness. So guys, that's Watch Dogs 2. You know how Before You Buy works. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion in there, and now I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. Watch Dogs is a contentious series, and a lot of people were burned by the first one, and a lot of people have a lot of hate for the second one, even though they may not have even played it. But I also know a lot of people have been really anticipating it with the hopes that it'll fix the problems of the first one. I want to hear from all of you. I want to hear from the haters. I want to hear from the fans. I just want to know what you think about Watch Dogs 2, whether you've played it or whether you've not. Let me know anything you want down in the comments about Watch Dogs 2. You guys know I'll also be answering questions on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino as well. You guys probably know the deal by now, but if you're new around here, liking and subscribing helps us out a ton, and we appreciate it a lot. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.